In this skills review lesson, we're going to continue with working with rational numbers, and we're going to look at multiplying and dividing them. And again, I apologize. I should have changed that to a thin line before I started. So when we'll start with multiplying. So if A over B and C over D are rational numbers, then A over B times C over D is equal to A times C over B times D. So really it's a matter of multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. Taking a look at this visual example, you may find it a helpful way of looking at multiplying fractions. One thing that is nice to know about fractions, and again, I think that's switched over again, um, is that when you say 3/4 times 3/5, really what you're saying, what is 3/4 of 3/5? So if it's multiplying, you can think of it in terms of of. So 3/4 of 3/5 is going to be something less than 3/5. Okay? So I've got 3/4, or well, I have let's say a Kit Kat bar with 4 sticks here. If I shade in 3 of those 4, then I've got 3/4. And if I'm going to multiply that by 3/5, I'm multiplying it by 3/5 of the other chocolate bar. So 3/4 of 3/5. Really, you can think of it as overlaying those two and shading in what's in common, okay? So there's my 3/4, okay? And here's my 3/5. It's the first 3 sections here. And my answer will be the result where they overlap. So it'll be this section here, which is 3/4 of the 3/5. And you can see that now we have 20 blocks here, and our overlapping part is 9 of them. So the answer is 9/20. If you look at the rule from above, if we did A times C, we'd have 3 times 3 giving us the 9, and 4 times 5 giving us the 20. Okay? So that's just a quick visual look at it. And the other resource that I gave you also um, uses a lot of that visual representation. Always reduce your final answers to lowest terms, and I'm going to show you a method of reducing it even before you do the multiplication, which makes it easier to reduce your final answer if it's not in reduced form. The other thing to remember is if there are mixed numbers, you first need to change them to improper fractions. So for question 2, we'll need to do some converting first. So if you want to give these two a try, if you want to press pause and give them a try, or even just to change the two improper fractions over to, sorry, the two mixed numbers over to improper fractions, you might want to press pause and do that, and then press play and take them up. Okay, so for example 1, 7/15 times 10/11. If I multiply across, I'm going to get 70 over some large number, and it might be hard to reduce that to lowest terms. However, if I look carefully at this, because that 10 is going to end up in the numerator and that 15 is going to end up in the denominator, I could look at what are the common factors that 10 and 15 have. And I can see that 5 divides evenly into both of them. So I could really think of this as 7 over 3 times 5 times 2 times 5 over 11. And 5 divided by 5 is 1, so that divides out, and now I'm left with 7 times 2, which is 14, over 3 times 11, which is 33. Okay? The other way to think it through would be to just say, well, I'm dividing the top and bottom by 5, so this becomes a 2 and that becomes a 3. Okay? All right, let's look at example, and sorry, and the 14 divided by 33, there are no factors in common because 14 has factors of 2 and 7, neither of which goes into 33. So that's now in lowest terms. If we look at example 2 and we switch to improper fractions first, we end up with 3 times 2 plus 1, which is 7 halves, times 1 times 14 plus 3, 17 over 14. And 7 times 17, that's kind of hard to do in your head. The 2 times 14 maybe is not quite as hard, but we can reduce that ahead of time by recognizing that 7 has a factor of 7 and 14 has a factor of 7. So if we divide 7 by 7, we get 1. If we divide 14 by 7, we get 2. So now when we do our multiplication, we've got 1 times 17, which is 17, and 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, this is a perfectly acceptable answer to me because it is reduced in lowest terms. 4 and 17 don't have any common factors. However, when your question is given to you in mixed number format, probably your final answer should be in mixed number format as well. So 4 goes into 17 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. And there's 1 left over. So it's 4 and 1/4 as our final answer. If we move now to dividing, if a over b and c over d are rational numbers and c over d is not equal to 0, then a over b divided by c over d is a over b times d over c. If you remember when we were subtracting integers, we recognized how we could turn subtraction into addition by adding the opposite. In a way, dividing rational numbers works the same way. We turn the dividing into multiplying the opposite, but instead of opposite, we use the reciprocal, which is the flip of the second number. Okay, so the second number gets flipped. There are nice little ways to remember this. One of them is keep, switch, flip. So the first number you keep, the second you switch, dividing to multiplying, and you flip the second number. But this is the mathematical terminology. You multiply by the reciprocal of the second number. And again, just like with multiplying, you need to convert any improper fractions, or sorry, you need to convert any mixed numbers to improper fractions before you do your dividing. So 9/11ths divided by 1 2/3 will be 9/11ths divided by 5/3, which is equal to 9/11ths times 3/5. Don't change it to multiplication until you at the same time change to the reciprocal. So now I can check if there's anything that I can simplify. I don't see any common factors in numerators and denominators. So I need to multiply out. So I'll get 9 times 3, which is 27 over 55. And that is already as a proper fraction form. So that one's already reduced to lowest terms as well. Okay, if we look at the second one, I've got 4/5 divided by 1/10. They're both already in the proper format, so we can just multiply by the reciprocal, so we get 4/5 times 10 over 1. And now we do see that we've got some common factors in a numerator and denominator. We can divide out that 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I end up with 8 over 1, which is 8. And that's it for multiplying and dividing rational numbers. And again, with a good bit of practice, that can become quite second nature and not so challenging to do.